Welcome back to the Vale Echo. Tonight we take you into the rain-soaked streets of Tokyo where millions walk side by side, never realizing that among them one man carried a plan that could have changed Japan forever. It began on an ordinary night when neon lights flickered against the wet pavement and umbrellas brushed past each other in the Shibuya rain. Hidden in the crowd was a man mid-30s, quiet with eyes that never stopped moving. His name was unknown, his past erased, but his intentions were terrifyingly clear. Police first noticed him through a string of anonymous online messages, cryptic warnings about a cleansing that would take place in Tokyo. At first, they dismissed it as internet noise. But when those words matched similar posts traced to a previous case, alarms began to ring in the headquarters of the Tokyo Metropolitan Police. Behind closed doors, detectives studied photos, maps, and surveillance clips. Something wasn't adding up. Every few nights, the same man appeared in the same security camera feeds, purchasing tools, bags, and chemicals from stores across the city. His movements were precise, his pattern intentional. In his small, cluttered apartment, the truth was hidden in plain sight. The walls were covered with maps of Tokyo, red pins connecting crowded places, train stations, malls, and festivals. Each location marked with a date. Police didn't know it yet, but those dates aligned with upcoming public holidays. The man spent his nights writing in a journal filled with distorted symbols and drawings, references to pain, isolation, and vengeance. His neighbors said they barely saw him. When they did, he was quiet, polite, almost invisible. As detectives dug deeper, they found security footage showing him carrying a large black bag into his apartment late at night. The timestamp read 2:47 a.m. A week later, the same man was seen walking through Shibuya Crossing during rush hour, blending into the thousands of people. Nobody noticed him. Nobody ever did. Behind the bright lights and chatter of Tokyo's nightlife, the city was unknowingly being stalked by its own shadow. Detectives began to suspect they were dealing with something far more dangerous than a lone threat. His online chats revealed a hidden group, a digital echo chamber that encouraged violence, feeding his paranoia and rage. Then came the first major clue: a taxi driver reported a passenger who matched the suspect's description. He spoke softly, asked about the nearest subway entrance, and disappeared into the rain. The driver's dashcam caught a chilling reflection, his eyes calm and calculating. Police analysts realized time was running out. A clock was ticking somewhere in the background, one that only he could hear. Tokyo was still sleeping under its glittering skyline, unaware that a single man's madness was ready to erupt. And as the night deepened, he stood by his apartment window, staring at the city below. To him, it was Tokyo anymore, it was the stage for his message to the world. The shadow had taken form. The countdown had quietly begun. Tokyo awoke to another ordinary morning, but inside the city's police headquarters, the tension was anything but normal. The investigation room was packed. Detectives gathered around a large map of Tokyo, red lines drawn between key locations. Coffee cups trembled on the desks as phones rang nonstop. The man in the shadows had vanished, and his digital footprint had gone silent. In one corner, Inspector Takeda studied a series of chilling photos. The suspect's apartment had been found empty but filled with evidence: handwritten notes, formula sheets, and a calendar with several days circled in red ink. Each date matched a public event where thousands were expected to gather. Tokyo's biggest festivals, train stations, shopping districts, all marked. The city was living on borrowed time. Across town, security cameras captured him again, walking calmly into a hardware store, face hidden under a black cap. He bought items no one would question individually: wires, small timers, batteries, and duct tape. The clerk smiled as he left, unaware that the man's calm demeanor masked a storm brewing inside. Back at the headquarters, analysts cross-referenced his purchases and online activity. A pattern emerged. His messages in secret chatrooms had turned darker, rants about corruption, loneliness, and revenge. He wasn't just planning chaos, he was justifying it. Each post was signed with a symbol, a spiral inside a red circle, the same one drawn on his apartment walls. That night, the rain returned. Neon lights flickered as Tokyo's streets filled with the hum of life. Crowds gathered in subways and shopping centers. None knew that among them, a silent figure moved with precision. CCTV footage later showed him leaving a train car with a small suitcase. Inside, police feared, could be the beginning of a massacre. The task force scrambled. Undercover officers flooded the streets, blending in with the crowds. One young detective, Sato, caught a glimpse of him at Shibuya Station, his reflection in a glass panel. Their eyes met for a brief, electrifying second. Sato whispered into his earpiece, "Target confirmed." Instantly, police cars roared to life. Sirens pierced through the rain. Commuters looked around in confusion as heavily armed units began closing in on the suspect's last known position. Every second stretched longer, every heartbeat louder. Somewhere in the chaos, the suspect slipped into a service corridor leading to the station's maintenance area. Inside that narrow, dimly lit tunnel, he paused. His hand hovered over a small device, a blinking red light pulsing steadily. He smiled, not out of joy but relief. In his mind, the countdown was over. But fate intervened. As he prepared to vanish into the city's underbelly, a SWAT officer's shout echoed through the corridor. Flashlights flared, shadows danced, and in an instant, chaos met its match. He turned to run, but the sound of boots and commands filled every exit. Above them, the city continued, people laughing, trains running, lights glowing. No one realized how close Tokyo had come to disaster that night. For a brief moment, silence returned. Then came the call that would shake Japan's news the next morning. Suspect located, operation underway. The countdown had reached its final second. The operation began before dawn. Tokyo still slept beneath a blanket of mist, unaware that in the heart of the city, hundreds of officers were moving into position. Every street camera, every patrol car, every corner of the Shibuya district was being watched. Inside the command center, red lights glowed over monitors showing live feeds, each one locked onto a single figure walking alone through the rain, the man who nearly brought Japan to its knees. The suspect moved with eerie calm, dressed in the same black coat and cap seen on countless cameras before. He clutched a small black duffel bag, the same one police had traced through multiple purchases. Detectives already knew what was inside: timers, wires, and chemicals carefully prepared. This wasn't just evidence, it was proof of intent, proof of how close Tokyo came to disaster. On a nearby rooftop, the SWAT team waited for the command. Their radios crackled with faint voices, every syllable sharp with tension. Below them, undercover officers trailed the man through a narrow alley glowing under neon signs. The rain turned heavier, muffling footsteps, disguising motion. When he reached an intersection, he stopped and turned his head as if he sensed them watching. For a breathless second, the world seemed to hold still. Then, with a sudden movement, he darted down the street, vanishing into the crowd. Officers shouted. The chase began. Police cars roared through Tokyo's streets, sirens slicing through the storm as citizens turned in confusion. Cameras followed his every move, from the busy crossing to the empty parking garage where he finally sought refuge. Inside the garage, the suspect dropped the bag and stared at the flashing red and blue lights reflecting off the concrete walls. For the first time, he looked afraid. Footsteps echoed as the SWAT team advanced, shields raised, weapons drawn. "Put your hands where we can see them," a voice thundered. The man hesitated, breathing hard, his eyes darting toward the duffel bag lying inches away. A tense silence followed. Rain dripped from his coat. His trembling hand hovered over the bag's zipper, but before he could move, an officer lunged forward, tackling him to the ground. The device was seized, wires cut, and the threat ended. Back at headquarters, the evidence table told the rest of the story. Dozens of notebooks, online messages, and hand-drawn maps pieced together a chilling vision of what could have been. Japan had been hours away from a catastrophe that would have scarred the nation forever. When the news broke, people across Japan woke to headlines that chilled their blood. Tokyo mass attack foiled. Press conferences were held, officers hailed as heroes. Yet beneath the relief, a haunting question lingered: how many others like him were waiting unseen in the shadows? As dawn broke over Tokyo, the city looked peaceful once again. The rain had stopped, the streets glistened, and life slowly resumed. But for those who knew the truth, the silence carried weight. Because that night, Japan didn't just catch a killer. It caught a ghost that could have rewritten its history.